Hyde Park. We love it. All right, everyone can breathe a sigh of relief. Actually, you back there, what's your name? No, I'm just kidding. Ladies and gentlemen, Michael McDermott. And Heather Horton.
Yeah, there's something happening here. It seems like everything has gotten pretty weird. Tech bros, unwell people selling pillows, hijacking Jesus for treasonous criminals. Freedom of speech is no longer what it means. AI will eulogize the American dream. And Moses said, I got it all right here in writing. They sowed a vision to keep everybody fighting. We're turning into a dystopian autocracy. But now the future sure ain't what it used to be. Sha-la-la-la. I think it's time we did some critical thinking. The Statue of Liberty has started sinking, and all they want to do is keep you distracted, at least until martial law's enacted. And Jefferson would roll over in his grave if he saw how these people behave. And people pointing fingers all over town. They want you looking left and right, but not up and down. It's pretty clear the cavalry ain't here. It's up to you and me. But now the future sure ain't what it used to be. Sha-la-la-la. Because here we don't bow to any king, so let the motherfucking freedom ring. Here we don't bow to any king, let's let the motherfucking freedom ring. Here we don't bow to any king, and certainly not a clown from Queens. Here we don't bow to any king, let's let the motherfucking freedom ring. So bury your head in your devices, and never mind the constitutional crisis. It sure is a sad state of affairs. Hey, look over there, I think it's Stassi by the stairs. And everybody's being pushed to the edge. Before you jump, they're gonna want your loyalty pledge. Just keep on buying stupid shit on your phone, so we never have to feel that we're really alone. It never ends well for the men who fell under the spell of tyranny, because the future sure ain't what it used to be. Sha-la-la-la. Okay, sing along now. Because here we don't bow to any king. Here we don't bow to any king. Let's let the motherfucking freedom ring. Here we don't bow to any king, and certainly not a clown from Queens. Here we don't bow to any king, let's let the motherfucking freedom ring. Thank you.
One more time for Michael McDermott and Heather Horton. Thank you guys so much. He's vibing over there. Woo! Thank Thank you so much. Okay, I will not continue on much longer because we had this wonderful performance. So I will pass it off here shortly. As many of you who are returning know, tonight's panel is being recorded for a podcast and radio show. So our time is tight, and so are our microphones. We will not take any questions during the panel. We have truly, as we said, phenomenal panelists up here tonight. I'm so excited for you guys to hear from them. We will do a Q&A after, though, so I will be back for that. Please, if you have a question, think about it. Think how you can be concise with it. And even if you write it down, that's always wonderful as well. We'll prioritize those questions if we can. Thank you all for being here. Without further ado, I will pass it off to Marge and Tom.
Maureen. Thank you, Maureen. One more hand, please, from Michael McDermott and Heather Horton. Wasn't that fantastic? Oh, my God. The protest song is alive and well and demonstrated tonight. Welcome, everyone. What a great turnout. Welcome to Show Up Chicago, a community gathering and a political panel show presented monthly here at the Hideout. I'm Tom Moss. This is Marge Halperin. We're part of the leadership team for Indivisible, Blue Beginning. Wow. We've never gotten a hand before. That's fantastic. Week by week and day by day, we're all witnessing the rapid acceleration of ICE violence and cruelty as they invade neighborhoods across the city. The abductions, disappearing, pepper spraying priests, tear gassing, you know what we're up against. While we are now all engaged in this struggle to some degree, our guests have been on the front lines, and it's that perspective we'll hear about tonight. We'll also hear and answer the question, what more can we do to help? So our guests are Tiffany Walden, is a Chicago-based journalist, editor, and media entrepreneur, best known as a co-founder and serving as editor-in-chief of the Triibe, a digital media platform dedicated to telling the stories of Chicago's Black community. You're welcome. Baltazar Enriquez is a community leader in Chicago, currently serving as president of the Little Village Community Council. Yes. If there is a ground zero in this operation, it may well be Little Village, and Baltazar stands in the center. So you have done it already, and I'll ask you to do it one more time. Please welcome our guests.
Before we get into the questions and answers, there's one thing I do want to make clear. We in this room, I believe, are primarily U.S. citizens. I don't think there are any journalists here. Are there? Clap if you're a journalist. Oh, maybe we got one too. All right. But otherwise, I do know there are people here, and I would like to have you clap if you've taken the risk to go to Broadview. Thank you.
Wonderful.
And clap if you were clapping because of the radio, by the way. We could have you raise your hands, but they wouldn't know. So you should also clap now if you've had to be out in the street to protect your neighborhood from ICE activity. Thank you all for what you have done, and I know you're here because you want to do more. Still, I want to be clear that the risk to most of us likely comes nowhere near the risk that our panelists have faced. And in that context, Tom and I have really done our best to shape this conversation to be useful to you to help share the information to a broader audience, but also to the rest of us here tonight to make us better informed as we join the resistance in the most productive way that we can. In short, in no way do we want this discussion to be voyeuristic. That is not what we're after tonight. We hope to pull that off so that everyone is comfortable in the conversation. So thank you so much for joining us and all of you for being here. I want to start by setting the scene just a little bit. I know there isn't anyone in this room who has not seen a video of the kidnappings in our community, and many of you were there to witness them, as we know. But you both are much closer to the violence that has happened than most of us. So let's just start, if you would share an overview of what's been happening and to whom. Baltazar, do you want to start?
Good evening, everybody. My name is Baltazar Enriquez. I'm the president of the Little Village Community Council. It's a neighborhood that's right behind Cook County Jail. And Little Village is really awesome, right? Because I grew up there. And, and I love it. I love my neighborhood because it's like home but not being home, right? You could go to the laundry, everybody speaks Spanish. You go to the butcher, he speaks Spanish. The pharmacist, and it's beautiful, right? Because we have left our home and now made Little Village our home, especially for me. Um, I grew up in Little Village, but not knowing that I will be fighting for it, not knowing that we'll be defending street vendors and people they just want to go to work. And we left Mexico because of poverty at that time. Um, and now, with this administration, has turned us into the bad guys, has turned us into um, the bad hombres, is what Trump said. And we do not eat cats or dogs, just for the record. Um, and this whole ordeal began in January 20th. When we began patrolling Little Village. It was extremely cold that day. And we got a bunch of volunteers and we did a caravan. And we went around to the temp agencies and to the Home Depots where the day laborers are at. And we told them, hey, this is what's going to happen. And in case it happens, let's be prepared. So we started letting people know, don't sign nothing, don't say nothing, and just ask for an attorney. And it seemed like it worked, right? And we started telling people, if you see La Migra, that's, by the way, La Migra is ICE. If you see La Migra, you lock your doors, don't open your doors unless they have a judicial warrant. And we had workshops after church, workshops at schools, and we educated our community. And Tom Holman said, shit, Chicago was really hard. They were very educated. But it was because of our volunteers, our members. They were out there letting people know, passing out pamphlets, information. And it was very hard to understand what is an immigration raid. People had never really seen it. Little Village is a big immigrant community, and it's predominantly Mexican. But nowadays, you have people from Guatemala, Ecuador, Colombia. It's become like Latin America. It's awesome too because the food is great because now you can you can see my stand. I do love food, but that's the beauty about Little Village, right? That it's always gonna change. It was originally Czechoslovakian, Bohemian, Polish, and German, and then in the early '70s it started becoming a Mexican community, and nowadays is the next meg mile. It's 2 miles of nothing but businesses that is started by people from the community, and they hire locally. The money stays in the community, and we don't have like Michigan Avenue, the Burberrys, the Chanel, all that fancy stuff. We have mom pop shops and product that you can't find nowhere else. And that's why we have people from Michigan, from Iowa, Indiana, to come visit our neighborhood because we have that unique product. And as Little Village is becoming this mecca of, of the immigrant community, and we could show that if this government will invest in us, we're gonna pay back 10 times, because there's the examples there. Right, and we pick up in every neighborhood that immigrant community or an immigrant lives there. They start opening businesses. They start bringing their own culture, and you can see it also here on the north side, Milwaukee Avenue. Big immigrant community at the beginning, Polish, and it's the way things are because we're after that American dream. That's what we were told, that in the United States there's this thing called the American dream. But this administration has turned it into a nightmare. And it's really hard to in Little Village, our people, every morning they're calling me, Baltazar, is it safe to go out? Baltazar, is it safe to take my kids to school? Is it safe to go to the laundry? And these are not only the immigrants, it's U.S. citizens asking us these questions because they know they could get kidnapped. So just moving forward, we began our Blow the Whistle campaign in June. And when we began this campaign, people said, what the fuck is a whistle gonna do? I was like, well, that's a good question. But the point was that we wanted to educate the community that if they heard the whistle, to go away, to lock their doors, lock your gates. And if you're a U.S. citizen, come forward and be a hero and demand that these individuals get out of your neighborhood because they don't have judicial warrants. They don't have anything that will give them the right to be in our neighborhood. And when we then had a conversation with our brothers and sisters over in L.A., and they were going through what we were going through now, but I think a little harder because they had the National Guards, the Marines, and ICE agents. They said, Baltazar, these savages came down here and they went through our schools, they went through our parks, they went through our hospitals, and they were just trying to deport as many people as they can. And they turned off our cell phone towers. And I said, they can't turn off this whistle. So we amped up our campaign. We amped up our campaign and we started telling people, look, when La Migra gets here, they're going to turn off the cell phone towers. They're going to do things that you would never think they would do. And they're doing it now. And we then started passing out the whistles. People started getting educated. And it grew like wildfire. Everybody was now using it on the north side, in the suburbs. And we're proud that, they're using our idea. And we want other people to use our idea and communicate. And this past week, on Wednesday and Thursday, Greg, what is his name, Bombi? Well, I call him Greg the idiot. He came to Little Village to put a show, to show his MAGA supporters, look, we're taking criminals off the streets. And these people are savages. And we need the National Guard. And when he was there, we were pushing for nonviolence. Nonviolence. People to show them that they're the savages and we're not. And trust me, when we see ICE agents, we want to beat them. But because they're kidnapping innocent people. They're kidnapping street vendors. They're kidnapping the guy waiting for the bus just to go to work. They're kidnapping people that are doing work in houses, especially the people that do the lawnmowers, landscapers. They're going after them like, come on. And I have a friend that has been stopped in one day 3 times by ICE. And he's a U.S. citizen. And my nephew, he also got kidnapped by ICE. They tied his feet, they handcuffed him, and they have the face recognition, so they were able to let him go within 3 hours. But even within those 3 hours, he was in the van seeing how they were kidnapping other families. And he's only 21, but he has, he can't hear from his ears, so he has a little sickness. But he said, I never want to go out. And this is the trauma. This is what they want to put in my community. Scare the shit out of us where we are frightened. And we have been fighting that. Our volunteers have been fighting, learning. We just, 2 weeks now, we have the Magic School Bus because the attendance in the school has dropped a lot. We've been asking the mayor before this, let's do e-learning. Please, let's inactivate it. Because this is gonna happen. Oh, they waited so long that, now he's like, oh, we're waiting for the governor. So now they're pointing fingers at each other while our kids are not attending school. So we didn't have time for that bullshit. So we activated the Magic School Bus. And the Magic School Bus picks up kids from home, take them to school, and take them back. And we make sure that the kid is not missing their education, because this is what this administration wants. They want to keep us ignorant. They don't want us to be smart. They don't, yeah, poor and ignorant. So that's their strategy, to keep us on the bottom. So we have to fight that and lift our brothers and sisters from the grave of ignorance. And our Magic School Bus, at first, we really didn't know how we were going to do it, but we figured it out. And right now we had 32 children. It went up to 68. Because, and I'll tell you, one of the kids that I pick up, I'm not going to say his real name. I'm just going to name him Juan. And Juan hasn't been going to school for 3 weeks. He finally goes to school. When he gets to school, he's high-fiving his friends and, just making noise in the room. And, he's happy that he sees his friend. And when I went to pick him up, the teacher goes, "Are you picking him up?" I said, "Yes." "Can you tell his mom that he was being very disruptive in this class? He was high-fiving his friends, and he was just acting too wild." And, Juan was excited to see his friend. Probably not excited to see his teacher, but, but he was excited to see his friend. And those are the things that, wow, to me, that's worth, I'll pick him up 1,000 times if I have to, because these are the things that make our community. When you're raising a child, a community is raising this child because we're raising it. And I have learned that after the next day I picked up Juan, he said, "Hey, I saw you on TV." And he said, "Why do you do this?" And I looked at him and I said, "Oh, fuck." I said, "Hey, man, because you're awesome." And I didn't want to let him know why, right? I don't want him to know about eyes. I don't want him to be traumatized anymore. So I told him, "Because you're awesome." But Juan doesn't know that he is undocumented. And these kids don't know. All they want to do is go to school, play with their friends, and just be a normal kid. But these are the things that my community has to go through, and we have to learn how to fight back, how to find a solution. The government is not going to come in and say, "Here's e-learning." No, we've been pushing this for a while. So we have to fight and protect our own communities. And if we wait, it's not going to happen. So we have learned to do that. Then people start getting kidnapped, and families started coming into our into our office, and said, "How can I find my loved one?" And Lily, that's recording right there, she will help you find your loved one with USCIS. She will call. She will look for the inmate locator, and we find them because they're scared, because they have heard that their loved ones could get killed, disappeared, sent somewhere else. And this is real shit, man. This is not like, hey, we're making this up. So we have learned now to do a network on how to find loved ones when they're kidnapped. They're literally being kidnapped, not arrested, kidnapped. And it's very hard when one of your family members falls into those detention centers, because they're going to torture them. They're going to torture the shit out of them so they could auto-deport themselves, or so they could tell the next person, don't get locked up, don't get kidnapped, because they turn off the AC, they turn on the AC at the max, they don't feed them, they don't let them shower, no hygiene. And this is what America's jail system is making a lot of money out of them. And then we teach them how to download an app, because the collect call is $50 for 5 minutes. And sometimes it's 3 minutes. And this is what America's making money off our people. So we have learned to download, teach them how to download the app and be in contact with their family members to uplift their spirit and say, don't worry, don't auto-deport yourself. We're getting an attorney. We're trying to bring you back. And sometimes they just can't handle it. We just had one of our members deport him, so he said, "I can't handle it, Baltazar." And I said, "What happened? Didn't we tell you not to sign nothing?" He said, "They told me that if I didn't sign, they were going to go after my family that I was going to be sent to the SECAT. For people that don't know what the SECAT is this prison in El Salvador. And it's for criminals. These people are not criminals. And they scared the shit out of them. He said, I felt like they put a gun in my head and I had no choice but to sign. They didn't give him the right to due process. They didn't give him the right to a hearing. And they stripped every right from them. They took their spirit. You could put it in those words. Where now they're in Mexico or in their country of origin because this administration has learned to torture our people while being detained. So we then also learned on the prior administration that they had lost 35,000 kids. They don't know where these kids are at. So we help in our office. We do the power of attorneys. The power of attorney is so you could leave, in case you get deported, we could either send back your child to your country of origin, or if you're going to leave them here, you could leave, with a brother, a sister, or a friend, because some people don't want their children to go back to their country because of the poverty, the crime, and especially poverty that's being caused by the United States in certain countries. So we help with the power of attorneys. There's 3 types. One, where we could send you back your child, if the child is going to stay. And in case the child has a medical problem like autism or Down syndrome or some type of sickness that they need to go to the hospital. Oh, then there's also adult, we don't have a lot of those, but there is adult power of attorney for adult guardianship in case the child's over 18, but he still has a sickness that needs to be taken care of. We also have a finance power of attorneys because we have seen employers keep people's money. So if you get 10 employees and you keep 10 checks, it's a lot of money. So we want them to go get that money to pay light, to pay gas, and any of those expenses. So we're learning as we're going, what are the demands, what are the needs. So like that, we could provide a service and some type of relief to our community because most of these people are newcomers. They don't know, especially when the wave of Guatemalans, the wave of Nicaraguenses, Honduran, and just recently the Venezolanos. They came in here legally. They did it the right way, and they're still being persecuted. And I remember one lady said, why did they allow us in this country and now hunting us down like animals? So these are this is what government has turned into, a very dangerous government. And we need to change that panorama. And I think these elections are going to be very important because we saw how this government has become authoritarian, some people want to show that the racism is patriotism, and that's not cool. So this is what we're fighting in Little Village. We blow the whistle every Wednesday at 6 o'clock at the Arch, and we pass out whistles, know your rights cards, and this is how we've been educating our people. On Thursday, I was there on the front line fighting with Bambino, and he was throwing smoke bombs at us. And I told him, don't do it. And he just laughed and threw the bomb. And I don't give a shit. And he threw it. And they were the ones with guns. We didn't have guns. All we have is whistles. And that's how we're going to fight this administration. The next day, we had a party in Little Village. We gave out free tacos. We were just having a fun time just to lift people's spirits. People are fucked up in Little Village mentally. People are so scared that they don't want to come out. They're killing our businesses. They're killing our street vendors. And they're really attacking my neighborhood. So if you ever want to go to Little Village, have some good tacos. Margaritas, we got good margaritas too. So come and help us because our businesses are dying. But that's just my story.
And we could join on those Wednesdays too. It
Yes,
sounds like,
definitely.
under
6
the arch
o'clock,
on
yeah.
Wednesdays. That sounds great. I saw these new statistics today, and I know there have been questions. I'm not sure my mic is working.
Use my-
Yeah, take yours. So the statistics that I saw today are a little different than what I'd seen before. 72% of ICE detainees have no criminal conviction. That's the highest number. I've seen 60, but now it's up to 72%. Nearly half have not even been accused of a misdemeanor. And by the way, because you get the trolls on Facebook, overstaying your visa is a civil offense. But also, it's what you said, the people who had TPS, protected status, who did come here legally, and then they took that status away, and what are they supposed to do? They made a life here because they were told they could. Tiffany, you're on this side of things, observing and reporting. What else do you see that adds more volume and context to what Baltazar is telling us?
So for us at the Triibe, we watched pretty intensely what was going on in LA and then in DC this past summer. And particularly in LA, we saw the ways that they were, and by they I mean if these federal immigration agents, the way that they were doing a tactic of like jumping out of cars and kidnapping people, and they do all of this in a matter of minutes and then they're gone. So we were already, watching this and trying to figure out, how do we adapt to that once it comes to Chicago. In D.C., what we were seeing there was black communities in particular being harassed by federal agents because of the ways that the D.C. Law enforcement structure is set up. So we would see black folks in their communities sitting on the porch and videos of federal agents walking up to them and asking them, what's in your cup? Is that weed? Is this? Is it like just finding things to question them about while again they're in their neighborhood sitting on their porch? And this would be any agent from like Secret Service, which I didn't even know could do anything outside of like right, exactly. To actual ICE agents, to Border Patrol and what have you. So once we started seeing those things happen again, we knew that at some point there would be a variation of that happening in Chicago. A lot of the attention, even still today in the media, has been on when the National Guard troops are coming to Chicago in particular. So Trump initially said he wanted to send in, the troops to Chicago, so everybody kind of hung on to that. But while he was saying that in August, early September, you see this surge in federal agents come into the Chicagoland area. So that was also a new tactic as well. It wasn't just Chicago neighborhoods. We were seeing them go to, the North Shore area, particularly the Navy base that's up there that they were stationed out of. We saw them targeting different communities in North Chicago and Waukegan. Then we saw them doing, Franklin Park, where they killed a man and then lied about what happened in that interaction. And then you saw them coming more and more into the city. So we were trying to figure out, how do we keep up with this tactic when it's happening so fast and it's so unpredictable. And so for us, we wanted to come in, immediately and do some civic education in terms of, for one, just getting black people to understand what's happening. And a lot of people in our community have kind of taken a step back since the election and just said, this ain't our fight no more. We're going to let people fight and get to it themselves. So a lot of the beginning of our coverage has been explaining to people, what other black elected leaders and organizers are doing on the ground here to build those mutual aid networks. Also explaining to people that, black people are immigrants too. There are Haitians. There are other people in the community, Nigerians, people from African countries who are also experiencing this level of aggressive targeting from the federal government too. And then we also started doing some of the stories as well that we wanted the national media to catch in on too. Trump said Chicago is a hellhole. Okay, let's do a story about that and actually talk about how our tourism numbers are up, how a lot of Black millennials and millennials in general have moved to Chicago year after year. Our population is going up. And so, again, once the actual surge was just kind of ramping up and kicking up, we just realized that, like, you know, we can't do this alone. So we started partnering with other news outlets as well to do this coverage. One of them is Unraveled Press, who is doing phenomenal work on the ground, particularly on social media, covering a lot of the ICE sightings that's happening in the city. But we approached them and said, you know, hey, what if we had a centralized location where we were talking about these ICE sightings and what happened during that sighting that day. So that's when we started publishing on our website, you know, different confirmed sightings that were happening throughout the city. And we normally just cover Chicago, but in this instance, we was like, look, we got to cover everywhere because they are everywhere. And I think a lot of people started to wake up in our community, particularly earlier this month when the South Shore raid happened on the apartment complex out there. And that became a very sensitive conversation, too, because, you know, for the past 3, maybe 4 years, we've seen an influx of new arrivals come to Chicago and particularly be placed in Black communities. And we had done a story earlier this year about the state placing people into Black communities because the housing quality particularly is poor, and because the rent is affordable. And so now, you know, whereas you had this tension that was already in the community, it only got heightened once that particular raid happened, and you start to see Black people now understand, like, oh, this is what's happening to people every day. Some Black people were also detained as well, and taken out of their homes in the middle of the night. And so that's when we started to see that this really has nothing to do with just targeting a certain group. They're coming after anyone and anybody that they can and asking questions later. And I think a lot of people on the north side woke up to that this past week with the night manager who was detained at Laugh Factory, and then the Lakeview neighborhood that was tear gassed this past week as well. So a lot of the work that we're doing is just telling people as much as we can that this is about more than saying that they're going after criminals, because as we can see, they're not going after criminals. They're detaining and kidnapping everyday people, anybody who's dissenting, anyone who is trying to advocate and speak up for their neighbors. And it's only, you know, at least from what I've seen, it's only gotten worse from September or from August to now.
Do you feel like this strategy is working for them? I mean, obviously it's working as far as it's terrorizing the neighborhoods in the city, as Baltazar has told us. But is it winning any hearts and minds anywhere else? I mean, you know, the desired effect, I would assume, would be in part anyway to convince people that these are indeed hardened criminals that they're wrapping up. But that's not what anybody who watches any of these videos would see. I mean, obviously there are people that will see whatever they want to see, but people are persuadable, I would think.
So on social, particularly on Twitter, because Twitter is a hellhole itself. I don't know if y'all, I don't know if y'all are still on there. The Triibe got off of Twitter. It's like it's too much on there. But Christy Nome, all of those people, they're on Twitter and they make like these sizzle reels, like little mini action movies after they do certain raids in certain communities. So like after the South Shore raid in particular, it looked like I don't know, like if you've ever seen like Dead Presidents or like any type of like action movie, that's what it looked like as they were explaining from their point of view what the raid was like. So there is a demographic of people, particularly MAGA people, who are into that, and that's firing them up. They also have different quote-unquote journalists who are riding around with them and filming things and streaming them and posting on their platforms too. So I don't want to sit here and act like there's not a community of people who are riding for that. Those people do exist, and they have their own networks.
They are persuadable.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
They're set in the particular racism that they have, and that's what they're going for. Now, people who may have not really thought about it much, but now their neighborhood is being tear gassed, those people are being persuaded and seeing how inhumane this is. So we are seeing a lot of people come around and say, you know, I get it now, or I can't believe that they took such and such. A lot of people couldn't believe they took the guy from Laugh Factory.
Right.
It's a white man, like, that is on the north side of Chicago. That was completely unbelievable to a lot of people. Even when they, they choked a black man on the west side of Chicago. Black folks were just like, he's a U.S. citizen. You can't do that to him. You can't do that to him. So everybody that is experiencing it up close is starting to see just how unhinged and ruthless it is, and very much just act first and ask questions later. And they'll take you. You may end up in Broadview. You may ride around for a while. I think the woman that they took, that was a producer at WGN, they rode her around for a while, and then they dropped her off in like Lombard. But they picked her up on the north side of Chicago. Right. There was a black guy from the South Shore raid who also said he was taken to Broadview, which is a west suburb far away from South Shore. And then he was like dropped off at a random gas station. A lot of people have been dropped off at random gas stations. Steve Held from Unraveled, he was detained one Saturday night. He's a journalist. And he was detained. He had a press hat on. He had a press on his book bag everywhere. They still took him, kept him for a few hours, but they let him go, at the actual Broadview facility. So yeah, there's no rhyme or reason to it. You can really be looking for someone for hours, and they may have never even made it to the Broadview facility, or they did make it to the facility and they're just in there for hours or sometimes days and weeks. There's people that's in there way beyond the 48-hour limitation that's supposed to be set.
And they keep it freezing. Is that what you said?
Mm-hmm. And I'm going to add, because it's been made public on socials, that about 10 days after Steve was held and released, he got a notice from TSA that his pre-check is revoked because of his actions at Broadview that day. They dated it. He didn't do anything that day. They didn't charge him. They released him. And yet every arm of government is being used to build this terror campaign, whether you're a U.S. citizen or not. So I think our next question.
Yeah, this may be an impossible question. We'd have to spend a lot of time on it. But what do we know about these agents? I mean, obviously they're masked. Obviously we don't know their identities. But, are they... What do we know about it? As an observer, it seems like they, 6 months ago were in their basement playing video games, and now they're bringing those to real life. That's the sense I get. But you've been close to them. What do you know?
So, you can help me with this answer. A lot of these individuals, they're bounty hunters. They're not allowed in Illinois to practice bounty hunters. So, we've been asking government to challenge, though. If they've been deputized, show us that they've been deputized. Here in Illinois, they're not allowed. And they don't know how to arrest. They don't know how to do intel. Because we've seen it, the way they come like animals, like thugs. And a lot of them don't even have the experience. They're overweight. They can't run. So, and it's a good thing, right? But we've seen how they're putting their knees on people's neck. People can't breathe. They're killing people while in custody. I think we're on 23rd individual that has been killed. Their ICE custody, and that's very worried because who's holding them accountable, right? And the loved one or the person that has been killed sometimes don't even have family here in the United States. So nobody's going to sue. Nobody's going to do anything about that because they don't have family members. But what we've seen is that they're all masked up. They don't want to say, hey, I'm a officer or my name is so-and-so. They don't want to show their badge. And what we have trained our members is, if they don't want to do that, you call 911 and you say, I have some individuals with guns impersonating law enforcement. I would like a squad car to be sent. Now, the mayor's a great person, right? He has this executive order that they cannot be using parking lots and any city property. Well, in Little Village, we caught them using city property. We called the mayor and say, what are you going to do about it? And he said, well, the law cannot be enforced because there's no sign. We know that, brother. We see. So can you put some signs up? And that has been an issue that they're trying to ignore. Again, I mean, I'm not Republican, Democrat. I don't even trust no politician, to be honest with you, because they will say anything just to get your vote. But we do have to learn how to run politics where it works for us. But these officers that they're sending, they are definitely angry. They have a lot of hate, and they have to be Proud Boys or part of those hate groups that have been hired to hunt us down like animals.
They're particularly acting like they're above the law. So keep in mind that there's temporary restraining orders against them right now that's been, happening for the past 2 weeks. They've broken all of them. They're not supposed to deploy tear gas towards journalists or communities. And they're also not supposed to do it without saying, doing a dispersal call, which gives people a notice to say, this has become a hostile situation. We're asking you to disperse. Our journalist in particular, Tonya Hill, was out on the east side when a neighborhood was tear gassed. There was no dispersal order. They didn't say anything, and she was tear gassed too, along with the police. The Chicago Police Department was tear gassed. People, and this is a neighborhood again, just a residential neighborhood with kids. There was a video of 2 adults running away with a baby in a car seat to try to get the baby out of the tear gas. So they're throwing out the tear gas as if it's like magic dust, like you throw it in the air and then they are able to disappear. And that's how they're acting. If you've seen any of them up close and do some of the sort of maneuvers that they're calling police maneuvers, they don't know what they're doing. Even if you watch the Laugh Factory guy being detained, which was captured on video, one of the agents is rolling around on the ground and he can't get up, and he's so embarrassed he ends up kicking the guy's mom in the back. So it's just they really don't have any training. Prior to the surge of agents being here, Trump and Pete Hegseth and all of them said Chicago was going to be a training ground for them. So this, to me, really is their opportunity to just quote unquote train. They're just whatever they've seen on, like you said, Call of Duty, or whatever they think policing is, without all the the civil rights parameters that's put into it, or consent decrees that some of these agencies are under. All of that is out the window. And there's even been reporting that a lot of the agents that are showing up, or people that are showing up to these recruiting sites, are folks who are either ex-military. They may have been let go from police departments because of misconduct or things like that. And otherwise just people who, don't have much going on, and they I can get up here and do this work. Because keep in mind too that there's an incentive to become an agent at this point. They're doing something with student loans and giving $50,000 bonus, and we've been trying to get our student loans erased for years, but
is recruiting going? I mean, are they having any success at recruiting?
People are showing up to the recruiting, but the issue is that they're not passing the test.
Right. Can't do. I think I can even do 10 push-ups.
Yeah, 10 push-ups. There's even an open book test that they're failing. So these are not the brightest people in the batch that's showing up to be agents, and then they end up on our streets tear gassing and
right.
Yeah.
They are ignoring those orders. We're going to have a court hearing tomorrow. By the time this airs on radio, that will have happened. But Do you have a sense of what their strategy is? They obviously think they don't have to obey a federal order. They're waiting for Supreme Court, do you suppose? Or how do you think they can stand up to these charges? You've got all this video evidence that will be shown in court. How do you see that playing out?
You know, I'm not really sure because they're also appealing a lot of the cases as they are handed down. So in Portland, the judge there issued a temporary restraining order, and then they went through appeals, and I think it was taken away in terms of the National Guard. So they're just going to keep doing an appeal process until it lands in a judge who's amendable to them, and that's going to bend to their will. So yeah, I don't have. I mean, I know that all of this has to play out in court, but they're emboldened by an administration that the court system means nothing to them.
Well, it sounds a lot like how Trump has run his business for
Right,
decades,
right?
right? I'm not going to pay you, sue me. Baltazar, you and I were talking a little before about my theory that I feel like they're going to get to the point where they ask the Supreme Court to declare the whistles an obstruction. That if they're out there trying to do their job, we blow whistles and people run away. If they have a warrant for somebody, that's one thing, but if they're just trying to nab a roofer having a lunch break, I don't know how we could be said we're obstructing, but we think it's free speech. How do you think that could play out?
So just for the record, the FBI has been to my house. They have tried to intimidate me. So I had to go talk to the attorneys and ask, can I get arrested? Can I be charged? And they said, you might, because you're the one with the idea. And you might be charged with obstruction of justice, but federal. And I said, what? That's fucking crazy. But and then my attorney said, listen, an example. We're looking for John Doe, who has a warrant for X murders, and he lives on the block of Spalding and 26. And you guys are patrolling the area. You see their ICE agents, and you start blowing that whistle. You now have obstructed an operation, and you aided a criminal to get away. So that we had to rethink how to do this, and we don't know if this could happen, but with this administration, anything could happen, and especially when you are defending innocent people, especially when you're organizing your community, especially when you're trying to teach the community about their rights, they're going to go after you. And they already tried to intimidate me, but it's okay. I'm still going to continue doing what I'm doing. I'm still going to continue fighting. And I see Nelson Mandela, so hey, jail doesn't eat. It's not going to eat you inside, but they will try to come and incarcerate you on some bogus bullshit charges, and it's okay. I have attorneys. No. But yeah, that's what I think is going to play out, and hopefully it doesn't. But it has come through my mind. I talked to my family, I talked to my brothers and sisters, and to my mom, and I told them, hey, if it happens, just pray for me and be there for me. But I think that it's not going to happen.
Yeah, I was just going to add that they've already started a lot of those obstruction charges. We covered one of the attorneys who is based in Oak Park who was helping someone else who had been detained by ICE, and he ended up 10 days later being detained by ICE, and they charged him with obstructing because he was following the federal agents in their cars behind them. Again, he wasn't in front of them, he was following behind them. So we're already seeing, people who are on bicycles following them, people who are blowing whistles, people who are filming. Those people are being intimidated by agents and told that they're not supposed to be doing that work, and or if the agent gets fed up enough, they do detain you and drive you around for a while and then let you go. But we have to keep in mind too, just like Baltazar said earlier, when they first came to Chicago in February, they left saying that Chicago is really educated. We can't do this work here. I think that they are losing this fight right now because Chicago is really educated, and we're not taking the bait. They really want some type of brawl. They want something to happen in the street where they can say we're sending in, the guard, or we can declare martial law, we can declare insurrection or what have you. So the whistles is something that they weren't expecting. Communities gathering together and like I see people are protesting in neighborhoods now. I saw there was a protest in Lincoln Park. They're not expecting Lincoln Park to protest, So yeah, like they know that it's a losing battle for them already.
They wanted to radicalize the white folks. They did a good job.
Yeah. They weren't expecting that. I wasn't expecting that. So
Listen, we probably
fair.
buried the lead here. We probably should have asked this at the beginning, but and there's so much more we could talk about. We're about at the end of our broadcast portion of the show anyway. But briefly, how are you doing? I mean, you're on the front lines. You're on the front lines, and are you getting any sleep? Are you staying healthy? What do you need? What can we do
A
for you?
tequila shot, no. What do I need a tequila shot?
That we can do, Baltazar.
No, but I definitely want to thank Liz, that's right there. Liz gets up at 5 in the morning, and we get up sometimes early to patrol. But she became a member because she said, Baltazar, I want to help out. And she started patrolling. And there's a street vendor, Doña Maria, who sells good tamales, and they were going to kidnap her. And Liz saved her. Yeah. And from there on, she loved it. She was like, oh, fuck yeah, I'm going to do this. And she gets every morning, and it gave her that adrenaline that she could fight back and protect street vendors and community members. But those are the things that motivate me, members like her. They say, hey, Baltazar, I'll do it. And, they're willing to risk their freedom and risk themselves from getting arrested and just to save the community.
But how are you doing? How are you doing, Baltazar?
Me, honestly,
you've got a lot of support around you, I know. But are you?
It is very stressful. There's days that I really want to throw the towel and say, "Fuck this! It's too much." But I pray, I meditate, and I ask God to give me the strength and the power and to continue going. Especially in my neighborhood, where people now say they think I'm the mayor or something. I was like, yeah, but they call me, they give me tips. They say, hey, Baltazar, there's a car right here. Can you come check it out? And I was like, how about you go? But no.
You've got a lot of love around you, I hope.
Yes. No, I have. The community has been awesome. They feed us. They say, hey, Baltazar, I brought you lunch, and a lot of love, but it is very stressful, very traumatizing, very... sometimes I can't sleep. There's days where I don't sleep. And I'm just thinking, what about if they come raid my house? What about if they come raid my neighbor? And this is something that I go to bed with, and thinking of my kids and schools, and it's a lot, but I'll find the way to go through this, and at the end of the road, at the end of the tunnel, I should say, the light comes out, and God is gonna be good, and we're gonna overcome this.
Tiffany, how you doing?
I'm tired, we've been going nonstop since August, and we came into it thinking, and by we, I mean me and my team at the Triibe, we came into it thinking that this was only going to last for 30, maybe 40 days. By the time we hit the first week in October, it was like, oh, this isn't going to end. This isn't stopping. And so I think people started to hit like their wall once we got into October. I'm also in different chats with my peers who are doing this work too, at different publications, independent and nonprofit media across Chicago, and everybody started hitting their wall at the same time. And so everybody's just trying to keep each other encouraged. What's been inspiring for me is that the independent and nonprofit journalism community has been working together. We all know that our teams are small, like the Triibe. People are always shocked by this, but you know, we have 3 reporters, 2 of them being news reporters. We have 1 art director, photographer. She's in the room, Ash. Our publisher is also in the room, Morgan. So yeah, we're a really small team, and a lot of our peers are small. Unraveled is 2 people. And they're in their car every day, riding around. Like this past weekend, they rode from Gary, Indiana. They made it to Lakeview right after the tear gassing happened. And I was like, how did y'all get from Gary to Lakeview that quick? Teach me. So everyone's just, going off of adrenaline and resting whenever they can. But just being in community with people and seeing everyone's dedication to this work. It's just really inspiring, and it makes me, think about, the Fred Hampton days of Rainbow Coalition for sure. So that's what keeps me encouraged and keeps me going. And yeah, if you all want to support our newsroom in any way, I brought some pamphlets there in the back on the table of our Reshaped newsletter. I also have some in my bag I can pass out to people too. But outside of what's happening right now, there's been a lot of attacks on DEI in general, and so that's hit our newsroom really hard in terms of funding. This has been one of the hardest fundraising years that we've experienced. So we're just, doing as much as we can. And
Possible to donate on your website?
Yes, you can make a contribution on the website. You can join our Reshape newsletter. It's a subscription for that particular newsletter. And yeah, I just encourage everyone to find, whether it's a community group, a rapid response group, whether it's doing a grocery errand for someone. Everyone can, whether it's getting a whistle, there's something that everyone can do. It doesn't have to be going to Broadview and putting your body on the line. I've been to Broadview. It's very aggressive in Broadview. You have to be prepared to do that type of work. So there's those options, and then there's other options of supporting community groups, supporting local media, and getting involved at the level that you feel comfortable.
And that's TRIIBE.com.
Yes, the Triibe with 2 eyes.com.
The Triibe is the website.
TheTriibe.com. And of course, the Little Village Community Council also takes donations, I'm pretty sure. What else can community folks do to be of help?
We're not paid staff. None of our members are paid staff, our volunteers. We run on a $5,000 annual budget. We just pay the light, the gas, and we don't have a phone right now because we're broke. But our volunteers do need to get fed. The whistles that came out of our donation, and we ran out. We gave out 4,000 already, and we're gonna give out more, but we need donations. We're not too tech savvy yet. We barely got a page, right? I'm still with smoke signals. I don't. Yeah. So my nephew goes, "Hey, do you got TikTok?" I said, "Yeah, I like the orange ones." He's like, he looked at me like, "What?" And I thought he was talking about the candy, but no, it's I didn't know it was an app. But we do take donations. We just got a cell, and it's my phone number. But we do give out clothes. We help our homeless. So we need covers, sheets, old luggages that you don't need, because we don't want to give it to them in a bag. We'd rather give it to them in the luggage so they could carry it around. We also have survivor packages that has underwear, socks, toothbrush, toothpaste, soap. Our baby department has, because people are not working, so they can't buy diapers. And we ran out of diapers, so we're looking for diapers from newborn to pull-ups, and also adult diapers. We're also helping out our seniors. And anything that you think that you don't want, we'll take it. Especially with those that are newcomers that just got an apartment, and they say, hey, do you have a toaster, a blender? You know, those things are the things that make an organization grassroots for the people, by the people. And we don't sell it. We're not, what is it, Goodwill? We're not the Goodwill. We don't sell our stuff. We give it to our members. There is a membership of $25 a year, which is $2 a month. But we don't want to put a burden on our members. We just want to help them. But if you could help us help them, that's even better.
That's the Little Village Community Council. We do have some supplies here for you to take on your way out. I think we'll wrap the show and then we'll tell you about that.
So that leaves it to me. Show Up Chicago is hosted by Blue Beginning, chapter of Indivisible Chicago, as well as our guests here at the Hideout. If you or your friends aren't here, well, you're here tonight. I always do this every time. If people aren't here but want to watch the show, it'll be on YouTube. Easiest way to find it is just to search Indivisible Blue Beginning, one word. Special thanks to Katie and Tim Tutton, Jody Boltman, Alex York, and the terrific staff at the Hideout. Tonight's sound engineer, Olivia Brunel. Thank you. John Freeberg manages our broadcasting and recording. Thanks to WCPT's Matt Cummings, Andy Miles, and Mark Pinsky for broadcasting Show Up Chicago. It'll be on this next Sunday, 7 p.m. Thanks to the Blue Beginning team, who, along with Marge and me, includes Chloe Madvig. You've met Maureen Kuhl, and we'll see her again in a second. Nick Rapkin and Michael Lenahan. One more big round of applause for Tiffany Walden, Baltazar Enriquez, that's TJ Shanoff on the keyboard.
And another thank you to Michael McDermott and Heather Horton. Who
That Michael McDermott, Heather Horton. And thank you. Thank you all for coming. This is energizing. You've got a lot of friends here in this room. All right, thank you so much for coming.
Before we, I don't have a mic. Is this the one that works? There we go. Before we turn this over to Maureen and your questions, I do want to tell you about the supplies we have on the way out. Some folks saw them on the way in. There'll be a little more. We have whistles. As Baltazar has, our orange whistles. We have one-pager guide as to how to use them when you're documenting assaults, and we hope you will continue to video and document what you see. We've also added a basket of silicone bracelets. You can model one, can't you? These are, there you go. These are for you to pass out to folks who you believe can use them as undocumented. So the phone number and the address on there is ICER, which is the hotline for folks who are undocumented, who are potentially detained or in fear of that. I plan to take them to my neighborhood businesses and restaurants and let them pass them out to staff or to other folks who see someone on the street. As I recently saw a woman sitting on the sidewalk selling candy who 2 weeks ago did not know that ICE was here. And I could only show her on my phone to take a picture. So now we have these bracelets, and we urge you to take some and distribute them in your community. We also have Hands Off Chicago posters. If you don't have one in your front window now, you can pick one up on the way out. And do we have other things? We have the Triibe materials to pick up as well. And a jar for donations to help cover the cost of all these materials. We'd appreciate those contributions and hope you will support the organizations that our panelists told you about as well. Thanks again for coming, and we turn this over to Maureen for your question.
Hello, I'm back. Yes, thank you. A round of applause, please. I know that a lot of people have really great questions. I am going to start with one that we were given out in the bar area. Okay, this is kind of related to, I think, what you guys were saying at the end, too. So somebody asked if we want to do things, so pick up or do people's laundry, shopping for them, something like that. Is there a channel or like a good way to talk about that? And this person did ask, if not, if you wanted to start something like that, how could we do that?
They could do it either by coming to our office. We're open Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday from 11 to 4. They could do TikTok, right, Lily? Lily's my secretary slash organizer slash assistant. So,
You could go to Barrio de la Vita,
Barrio
26
is Barrio de la Vita.
on
'Cause I
TikTok, Facebook, on Instagram. You could message me there, and I'll get in contact with y'all.
Will you say it one more time? Will you spell it?
BARRIO de la Vita, DELA 2626 THST.
Thank you so much. Wonderful. Awesome.
Or the cell, I think, is my phone number, which is 773-562-7549. 773-562-7549. And that will help us, like, with our gas, because sometimes we're like, oh, should we go, or should we get, or should we go walking, because sometimes we don't have gas, or,
Right.
you know.
For sure.
And then I'll add
562.
for journalists, it's really helpful when you document. People do I don't know, something happens when they watch visuals and they're able to see what's happening in the community. So documenting with your phone, having a safe distance between yourself and the agents. If you get too close, they do get more aggressive with you. Documenting, as best as you can. If they have a badge on, most times they don't. But even illuminating that they don't have a badge on. If you're able to get them with their mask off, documenting that. Videos, photos, what have you. You could email those things to the Triibe at info@thetriibe.com. We're also on social media as well, Instagram. People have sent me videos and signal chats to look at and to write about as well. And also follow Unraveled Press on social media. They are on Instagram and they're on Blue Sky. They also get a lot of messages and DMs and things and signal about things that are happening in communities. And we do our best to come out to the community when something's happening. If we're not able to get there, if you have video, we're able to use that and to document and to write about what happened as well.
I want to add one thing. If you, whether it's a video you took yourself or one you see online, we tend to stay in our bubble in social media. You can post it, and all of you have like-minded people who are following you. But I would suggest that if you have friends or relatives in other cities, be sure to tag them and ask them, are you seeing this in your local media? If not, call the newspaper, call the radio station, and ask them why they are not talking about what's happening in Chicago.
What is your name and what is your question?
Do I have to sing my name?
Yes. Well, also, just so everyone knows, I'm going to hold the microphone.
So this is just jumping off what Marge said and also about the Triibe. My question is, I'm paying vigilant attention, and sidebar, they are going to be putting up the portal in Illinois to submit all your evidence, just like Letitia James did. But has anyone called and said, what's going on from the national news? Because one, you've told me things I didn't know about dropping people off in, gas stations, and frickin' outrageous. But I don't know why this doesn't lead the headlines every frickin' day on the news. And I just want to know if people have called you, or, to what Marge was saying, ways we can get this news out, if there's any conversations you're having with national media to get this word out.
This is a transparent room, but the national media has been compromised, y'all. You're not going to get it from them. A lot of them have been bought out by billionaires. They've gutted their staff. The people who were truth tellers, they let them go. They laid them off, or some of them left. So we're just not going to get that support from national media in the same way. A lot of national media are still waiting on the quote-unquote clash, or they're waiting for the actual troops to come in. They're not seeing, to me, what we're seeing happening in front of us right now is even worse than if troops showed up here. Because the National Guard technically not even supposed to be able to arrest people. So the worst of it is this. I haven't talked to anyone in national media, but I have talked to other local independent media and organizers as well in other cities. LA Taco is a really popular independent media outlet in LA. And me and Steve Held from Unraveled, and another reporter from Chicago Reader. We all have been working on this ICE tracking together, and LA Taco interviewed us because they do the similar work. So they were just like, I can't believe there's like another group out here that's brave enough to do that work. So if you go to LA Taco's website, you'll see that interview on there. We are talking to Reveal about doing something, which is a podcast based out of California. But, you know, in terms of CNN, MSNBC, we haven't gotten that type of call from them.
What about London, like the UK, like The Guardian and some of
The Guardian has been doing pretty good coverage. I'm not against them. I haven't heard from them, but they have been covering it. The New York Times just recently stepped in, like maybe 2 weeks ago. But yeah, everyone is kind of slow to covering what's happening in Chicago. Again, they're still really waiting on like the big clash scene that everyone wants to happen.
Are there other people? Don Lemon was here a couple weeks ago. Are there other people who were former, who've become independent media and they're on who we should reach out to or not? I mean, he was here for what?
Yeah.
5 days?
Yeah, Don Lemon was here for a while, and he went to Broadview as well. So yeah, Don.
Are there other people of that caliber that we should be reaching out to who are independent media now who could help, who haven't been here or aren't paying attention?
Let me think about that. I know Joy Reid has been talking about what's going on in Chicago. She has her own platform now that's on YouTube. Roland Martin, who also used to be on CNN, we were on his show. He has a show that airs live every night on YouTube. So let me keep thinking about some other people who I haven't heard from yet. But if you can, I mean, if you have contacts at national media, reach out to them. You should definitely try to advocate for them to show what's happening in Chicago. But just know that they're compromised. You may or may not get it. Rachel Maddow, I have seen her do a segment on Chicago after the South Shore raid. We saw a lot of coverage about, things after the South Shore raid and when the judge first issued the temporary restraining order. I did see someone from MSNBC. I believe they were in either Little Village or Pilsen area for like a day, maybe. But yeah, it's just kind of when something big happens, you'll hear from them.
Okay, we're going to move right over here. What is your name?
Hi, my name's Lou. I just had a question, too, because of the ferocity of people being picked up, even if they are U.S. citizens. Has the idea come to play where if they are being dropped off or if they're being detained and let go, but they're by people who are masked, unidentified, have people started to go ahead and collect physical evidence from these people in order to try and, because it is violation of civil liberties.
When you say physical evidence, you mean?
If they were handled, touched on their clothing, if they were somehow, I don't know, hit, or,
Talking about
they have
DNA, like from the
Yeah.
anything that could physically be used later to identify these individuals should they be brought, because this is almost like war crimes in a sense.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming there is probably a statute of limitations later, but people have the right to go ahead and go after their attacker.
There are groups of law groups who are out at some of these scenes of protests and or raids. So like in Broadview, for example, when they have their protests each week, they have on, I can't remember if it's green or orange hats, green hats, but those are legal watchers. So they're watching the moment that everyone has an interaction, not only with the feds, but also with Illinois State Police, because they out there beating up people too. So they're documenting all of that, taking video, and a lot of that stuff you're seeing now be presented in court for these cases against the federal government. And then in terms of actual, DNA type of evidence, I'm not sure if they're collecting that stuff because I don't know if folks, have that type of representation because it's happening to so many people at such a fast rate.
They are. It's the National Lawyers Guild.
Okay, yep.
National Lawyers Guild, and they're representing people as well as collecting.
And they're
Yep.
green hats.
Green hats, yes. So if you see someone at any of these actions and they have on green hats, that's the National Lawyers Guild, and any other, law group who's out there serving as legal watchers too.
And the video is more useful than you might think, at least based on what I see. A lot of these guys, the masks are so tight, their mothers know who they are. And I feel like other people can recognize them also.
All right, we'll go right over here. What is your name?
Karen, and a question for Baltazar. You're doing such amazing work and you need some help. There's a lot of people that I know that would love to help you. If there's some way we can have like a tentacle organization, when we don't live in the neighborhood, somehow can we make an organization that we can come in and help you with the school bus? Can we help you with, how can we do that?
You could email me, which is littlevillagecommunitycouncil@gmail.com, or you could come see how we're doing it, and if you have ideas, say, hey, how about you try this? We let people shadow us, and we get ideas through that. We also have, on this Halloween, we're going to have an event where we're all going to dress up as characters, but just to make sure that the kids are okay trick-or-treating. But we're going to be watching. So it's going to start from 4 to 7. That's another way to help. And like she said, we could go every Wednesday. We go under the arch at 6 o'clock, and we blow the whistle for an hour. We want to also create, like you said, a network where not only we're going to do it in Little Village, but in other neighborhoods like Brighton Park, McKinley, back of the yards, and even on the north side, because we get calls. They're like, hey, can you help us come patrol the north side? Like Hermosa, Beltman Cragen, Albany Park, Uptown Rogers Park. And we're willing to train them, give them the whistle, and how to patrol. We have learned how to patrol, so, kind of became experts, how the cars look, and also how to create a network. But yes, definitely, we definitely need the help. And if there's something that you could do, we'll appreciate it.
I'll also add, my daughter teaches at a Northside elementary school, and their school, and apparently all across the north side, and I imagine the south side too, they're creating a volunteer list. You can go into any elementary school, go to the front desk, and sign up to be a volunteer. Before school, when kids are arriving, and after as they come out, parents and volunteers are being staged at every street corner, in the alleys. In my daughter's school, that's in Lakeview, that's how they knew ICE was coming. These volunteers were out there, they started blowing their whistles, they pulled the kids in from recess and got them in time so that there was nobody out there. So you can go to any elementary school, CPS elementary school near you, and volunteer as well.
All right, right here, what is your name?
Lori. Has anybody ever given any thought into like wearing body cams as well as our cell phones? Because they can always just knock your cell phone out of your hand. At least a body cam would be there.
We thought about it, not only the body cam, but walkie-talkies. But again, we're broke. But yeah, we have thought about the ones that go here or the one in the hat. And also glasses, they told us that. See, technology. Still with the smoke signal. So now you have glasses that have cameras. So we just don't have the money.
Would you be accepting donations of them?
Yes,
and stuff like
yes.
that? Okay.
If they could, ship us 10, 20 cameras for my volunteers to be out there patrolling, and yes, they could definitely help. And we could send you the video.
Teamwork.
Do you have an Amazon wish list? Do you know how that works? Lily, yes? If you create one, we can help put it out pretty broadly through the Indivisible network. And basically what that does is you identify the items on Amazon that you want. And normally we're not so happy about using Amazon, but in this case, there's a lovely irony to that. Let's let Amazon help supply for the community.
Amazon was they were only $22. Now that a lot of people are using it went to $29.
That's how Amazon works.
All right, right over here, what is your name? What is your question?
Hi, my name's Rhoda. Okay, my name's Rhoda, and it's not necessarily a question as much as it is some ideas that everybody could use. One is please remind everybody to buy products from the vendors, from the street vendors. Like, buy at least 20 tamales if you know where the tamale vendors are. Also, not only come to Little Village, my husband and I go every other week to Little Village, and we try to bring friends to go to the restaurants, but also go to your local Mexican grocery stores and supermarkets and shop there, because they're losing customers too who are afraid to shop. And I think I had one more, restaurants. Also, I'm involved with another organization it's a little bit different. They work with immigrants, and they're collecting gift cards from Aldi's, from Walmart, from Jewel, and Target, which I hate to say, but and this is another thing that maybe could even help your community. If people could bring gift cards to your community so people could get food.
And the grocery store issue's going to get even worse when SNAP benefits end, because that's a big financial support for the grocery stores where people come and do their shopping. So that's a great tip.
And another entry point is supporting food pantries during that time as well. If you can donate or support your local food pantry, that would be really helpful for folks.
All right, right here. What's your name? What's your question?
My name is Debbie, and today I was enlightened by a new marketplace where it's all blue. All people are invested in the fight, the good fight. It's Minocqua Marketplace, and Patty Vasquez was she's a part of this. The Minocqua. They do everything it was a brewing company, and they decided that they were going to branch out, and they branched out because they had all these problems. The man that started it had all these problems with immigration and people coming in, and but the Minocqua Marketplace is an alternative to Amazon, and I think it's really important that we do that as opposed to Amazon.
All right. Question. Is it a question? We're going to go right here. You have a question? Yes. Okay, great. Have you thought about it beforehand? Great, wonderful. What's your name?
Linda. My question is for Tiffany. I was really curious what you said earlier around some of the shifts that you saw among black residents, especially after we saw the man on the west side be choked on the street, and also the South Shore raids. I'm curious what else you've been seeing, or what conversation you've had with black residents, or do you see more mobilization or more community building? And not to say black Chicagoans are a monolith, but I'm just curious I guess how are more black residents responding?
So the organizing community is doing a lot of that work of going around and having conversations with people in different neighborhoods about the attacks that we're seeing in Chicago, particularly that, if you think that they're coming after one group today, they're inevitably going to come out after the next group tomorrow. So even after the South Shore raid, one of our reporters interviewed some of the folks who live over there, and they said, that they've had a change of heart, that now they understand what's going on, and, we don't need this type of law enforcement in our community. So, the community is still split. Again, there's a lot of pain and centuries of pain and oppression that has happened in the black community particularly. A lot of our neighborhoods have not seen the type of investment that they should have over the years, and then now the political climate that we're in has pitted people against one another too. So there's a lot of work there of people trying to overcome that particular tension that's in the community. So it's not that it's erased completely, but people are now having conversations and trying to work through what those tensions are so that they can point their anger at the appropriate person, which is the Trump administration, which is the Republicans. The Republicans are the ones who, bust people without any consent, just, taking people wherever they wanted to drop them off at. And so, yeah, it's a really hard conversation to be had within our community particularly, but it's being had, and organizers are leading that conversation.
Hopefully we see a better turnout at the midterms.
Well, black people, we turned out to the election now. I don't want that narrative to be there. We voted. And that's where a lot of tension is how people voted in the election.
I meant for Democrats.
Yeah. So we'll see. But I think that, again, a lot of people woke up this time around. They didn't think the administration was going to target them, and this administration does not care. They're targeting everybody. So yeah.
All right, right here.
Right.
Oh, sorry, we'll do one more. One more. What is your name and what is your question? I'm going to hold the microphone.
Hi, I'm Morgan Elise Johnson, co-founder of the Triibe. So, Tiffany, I would love for you to talk about similarities or differences between our coverage of the 2020 summer uprisings and the aftermath of George Floyd versus this moment now.
Thank you for your question, ma'am. So the 2020 uprisings was similar to what's going on right now in terms of people protested that entire summer. So those uprisings kicked off in May of 2020, lasted through, the fall of 2020. And here we're in this season again where, we thought something was going to last for a month, and it's ongoing. And so for us in particular, we noticed that mainstream media covers protests in that way I was talking about, where they're waiting on a clash, they're waiting on a really big moment to cover. And we decided at the time in 2020 that we wanted to cover protests from the ground. So we wanted to talk to organizers, we wanted to center the movement itself and talk about what the demands of the movement is, so that everyone understands exactly what's going on in the communities that are upset. So that's when you started to hear, defund for the first time. You started to hear abolition for the first time was during 2020. And a lot of those words were continuations of fights that's been going on. They've been talking about abolishing ICE for years. We're just now, having a broad conversation about it, but Black organizers have been trying to get rid of ICE for years. They've been trying to defund the police for years. And so 2020 was kind of that catalyst where we were able to start seeing the movement's demands rise to a level that more audiences were able to see it and digest it, but may not have had the imagination to understand, okay, well, if we don't have police, then what's next? So now you have a lot of organizers from 2020 today who are, still those same rallying calls are here. We should be talking about defunding ICE. ICE now is the largest funded law enforcement agency within the federal government. It has the same budget as some militaries in other places around the world. Imagine if we had a serious conversation about defunding police and defunding ICE in 2020. Imagine if we had serious conversations about defunding ICE in 2018, 2017. So, we have to keep that in mind too. I know that everyone is entering this fight from different places, from different areas of struggle or different vantage points of interaction with law enforcement. People have been reaching out to us and saying, like, well, why isn't the Chicago police defending people? And I don't know if you've seen the Laugh Factory video particularly, but the guy who's being detained is looking at the police and saying, y'all see them doing this to me? Y'all gonna let them do this to me? The police are not going to help. The police are also part of the problem. And so this is also another time where we can have larger conversations around what does it look like to actually defund and to move this money into life-breathing institutions. We're talking about helping organizations in Little Village. What if taking some of that money from the police budget funds the work that's happening in Little Village and Pilsen? I grew up on the west side of Chicago in North Lawndale. Little Village is down the street. We used to go to Little Village all the time. I used to go to Cicero all the time. My favorite beef stand is right on the border of Cicero. So Satchel's, yep. It's my favorite place. That's the beef. That's the beef stand. So all that to say is, yes, let's enter this fight where you can enter it, whether that's donating, whether that's, starting mutual aid groups, networks, whether that's visiting Little Village and helping out when you can. But also let's think about what we actually need and want as a collective moving forward, and what does that look like for communities like the Black and brown community, who constantly, whether we're in a Republican moment or in a Democratic moment, constantly have to deal with police, constantly have to deal with being harassed by police. The level of aggression that you're seeing from police right now in Lakeview, Black people have been seeing that for years. Brown communities have been seeing that for years. So now start to think about, what does moving past this look like when we get ready to do the midterms, when we get ready to hopefully have another presidential election. What do we demand from our candidates? Locally, we're going to have an election in Chicago in 2027. What do we want our aldermen to be doing? We got a story up right now. One of our most popular stories is how 13 aldermen didn't support Alderman Jesse Fuentes, who was detained by ICE temporarily. Do y'all still want them in office, or should we think about that? Some of those people have been in office for years, just sliding by because nobody's paying attention to them. The alderman of South Shore, still has not said a word about what happened in South Shore because nobody's, checking for him like that. So just start to have more in-depth conversations and ideas and thoughts around politically, what does having these heavily funded police forces, whether that's Chicago Police or ICE, what does that mean? What does that look like? Is that something we want to continue in the future?
In that article, if I remember it accurately, you interviewed people who called their aldermen to ask them, why didn't you support Jesse Fuentes? It's like the ultimate community-based reporting. I thought it was fabulous.
Yeah, because when we wrote the first piece, we just listed out the 13 alders and that they didn't support, and our reporter called them. Some of them didn't respond at all. And then we also included what we knew about a couple of them, like Ray Lopez, and smiling and taking pictures with Tom Homan. So then our audience was just like, they started calling the alders and saying like, yo, what's going on? And so we did a follow-up story where we asked them what their experience was in calling the alder. And some of them got some really bad responses from them, and then some of them still got nothing. So that's going to be really telling in 2027.
Right. Well, thank you again to our guests, Tiffany Walden, Baltazar Enriquez.